What's up, everybody, and welcome to Podcasting with Power. It's coming up on Halloween, Jordan. That's Jordan Carlson. I'm Zachary Davis. And it's we're just about here to spooky season. Leaves are falling. Yeah. It's getting colder. It's finally starting to feel like fall in Michigan, which is nice. But yeah, are you excited for the spookier times ahead?
I am. I feel like I might have been feeling the fall maybe sooner than you have this year.
Sure. I feel like I felt it today.
Okay.
It was kind of rainy. I was like, okay.
Was it raining by you today?
It was. Yeah. It was all a little wet this morning.
It was wet this morning. But man, oh man, I'm here for it and I love it. So
good.
Very into
Good
it.
To hear. Have you had any time to play anything cool this week?
I have.
Okay.
I've been playing the junk out of Little Nightmares 3.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Which I love. And I did get for the Nintendo Switch.
How does it perform?
I haven't played on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I do have it.
Cool.
It's a lie. I should say I haven't devoted that's not my main playthrough right now.
Okay.
But I did boot it up and I did play a little bit just to kind of see. And it plays really well. It looks really good. But I've mostly been playing on PC. But I did notice, and it's not like this is a crazy discovery or anything, but obviously the PC looked really good,
Yeah. And then, so are you playing that co-op with Amanda or?
Yeah. We're playing co-op right now, which is super fun. It's really, really, really good. It's just that I noticed that the theme of the game is different than the other ones. It's just different in a way, but we are very much enjoying it. It's just that it's not quite as creepy, but maybe I'm just not that far, but we're pretty far, but it just doesn't have that same luster, I think, as some of the older ones did. But we are really, really enjoying it though. I think that there were some really critical reviews on it, but her and I were talking and we were just like, well, we're going to be our own judge on this. And I'm glad we were because we're still really having a good time playing it. So.
Okay. So this, I believe, is the first one developed by Supermassive. So yeah. Is the second game the same developer as the first?
I believe so.
I would assume so, right? So you feel like there is a pretty distinct difference between 1 and 2 and then this one.
I think so. And I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't played it yet. And everything I'm about to say, if you watch any review video that is also non-spoiler, you'll kind of find the same thing. And I understand what they were saying. It's just that, the opening, the area you're in, it doesn't feel very Little Nightmares. It's very different, it's very light. It's not so dark and dingy.
Okay. Yeah.
But as I'm progressing, I am finding that there's some playful kind of callbacks that I'm enjoying. And the area does I seem to be traversing into an area that is more familiar in that way. It's just that, a good amount of that opening wasn't that way. So I wasn't really sure. But I'm sure I'll have more to say about it when I actually finish. I do think that it is getting a little bit more challenging as we go through, but I did notice it was pretty easy. But no, it's a series we love. So I think we're finding reasons to love it for ourselves. And honestly, isn't that the point, So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I should probably know this, but I don't. Can you play the game single player?
You can.
If I wanted to run through. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yep. It's interesting though, because you can't play it without that partner character. So the partner is AI when you go through, if you're alone. And I'll find this out for myself. That's actually why I got it for the Switch, because I'm going to play it alone after.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the AI companion can be a little stupid sometimes when it comes to some of the puzzle solving. So.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because I could easily look it up, but it's been in the back of my mind. Should I even bother with those if I can't, play on my own or whatever? But, very cool. Okay. And that's very fitting for, I think, what we're going to talk about later today. Mm-hmm. I have, of course, been playing a lot more Ghost of Yotei. Not as much as I did that first week, but probably another 12 hours into that. Just hardly progressing the story, just doing side stuff. I go in there before bed and I'm like, okay, I'll do a mission here. And I don't. I find some hot springs. I follow a bird. Save a fox. I'm just doing random stuff. But it's one of those things where, kind of like Zelda, and I mentioned this last week, I always feel like I'm accomplishing something though, because it's either building up your health or your spirit or whatever. Like, no matter what you're doing, you feel like you are working towards something. So I don't know.
I followed a bird.
I did. Yeah. Well, you're like riding around and they swoop in and it's like you follow them and then they lead you to something cool.
I mean, I'm joking around, but like, I do love that though, because that's how you're in a captivating environment,
Yeah. And I very much am. On the Nintendo side, I've been playing Yooka Replayly, which I realized I've been saying incorrectly for the entirety of this podcast. I've been taking out that L at the end. Yooka Replay is what I've been saying.
Oh,
I was actually looking at the tile on my Switch and I was like, no, there's definitely an L there, which makes sense because Laylee is,
Replayly?
Replayly. Yeah.
Replayly.
Yeah. So point is, I've been playing it. I'm playing it on the Switch. So not the best technical performance from what I understand. It is limited to 30 FPS, whereas it's, 60 on the other platforms. Apparently they are looking into that. I guess they got their dev kits very late, which is something we've heard, time and time again about Switch 2. But the actual content of the game, you can tell they've put a lot of love into it. There are a lot more things to collect, a lot more things to do. That was the big complaint about the original game, is that the worlds were just kind of empty. And I don't, at least in what I've played so far, I don't feel like that's the case anymore. It does. And again, this is a complaint people had, not a complaint that I had personally, in that people didn't like that you kind of got the moves as you went. They felt like you started the game with like no abilities, and that was kind of dull. And maybe there were too few there, especially if you're coming from a Banjo-Kazooie, if you've done that before. But this game just unlocks all that from the start. So it's kind of like, I know what I'm doing, but I'm like, okay, there's all these things and there's no curve to like learn how to use them. It's just kind of, you're thrown into the world and, I'm doing this high jump and I'm gliding and I'm doing, you can just suddenly do everything. And I feel like if you are a new player to ukulele or just platformers like this, it might be a little overwhelming.
Okay.
But it's hard to complain about that, because again, that is something people had a problem with before, and now they've tried to address it. So it'll be interesting. They're teasing some sort of announcement, so I don't know if they have a sequel in the works. People think it's going to be a kart game.
Oh,
which isn't what I want right now. We've got Mario, we've got Sonic, now we're going to get kart.
I feel like that's when like McDonald's and Burger King are arguing, and then like you get like Wendy's that's like, no guys, and they're like, shut up, Wendy's.
Yeah, I don't even know if ukulele is Wendy's, but it's fun, it is charming. It's still not what I want as a Banjo-Kazooie fan. I wish it were a little tighter, a little, more like Banjo, which we probably will never get. But that is what it is. I forgot to mention this. Collie and I did start A Way Out. We've played It Takes Two. We've played Split Fiction together, and for a while she's been kind of eyeing A Way Out. Not sure she's in love with it. Because it is that the
prison escape game?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
It's fun, and I've played through it before, but and it's fun to revisit it. A lot prettier game than I remember from being as old as it is. But yeah, so we played a bit of that this weekend, so we'll see if we do more of that. I don't believe that's on Switch, which is a bummer.
I think Split Fiction is next on our list.
It's good. It's really
That's
good.
What I hear.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite games this year. But let's knock out some housekeeping before we get into the show proper here. So Podcasting with Power is an independent podcast made by the two of us, and your support goes a long way. You can watch PWP on YouTube and Spotify, or listen on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Wherever you are, we'd really appreciate it if you'd follow, like, comment on, or review the show. You can also keep up with us on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and more at Pod with Power. We post show updates, clips, and anything else you might find interesting. So check that out and help support the show. Jordan, I've got a whopping 7 Nintendo news stories for you this week.
All right.
They just kept coming. I tried to get ahead of them this week, and then I just kept seeing more. So I'm like, we gotta talk about this. So number 1, and I'm definitely not going to go through the entirety of this piece here, but Time has released a list of their best inventions of 2025. And so I wanted to highlight in the entertainment and gaming category that the Nintendo Switch 2 was one of the recipients of this.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got the Switch 2, you've got the Epson Life Studio Flex Plus, which is a powerful streaming device, Falcon's Flight, the roller coaster. That's at our isn't that at our theme park that's the Michigan goers
relatively
go to? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Been there in years, but roller coaster made the same list as the Switch. The Samsung Premiere 5, a 4K touchscreen projector, the Soundcore Rave 3S, on-demand karaoke. I'm gonna have to look into that. And recently released, it's released today, I believe, as we're recording this, the ROG Xbox Ally X, which is a gaming PC on the go. Kind of mixed reviews on that. We'll see how that plays out for Xbox. But I just kind of wanted to read the little blurb here on the Nintendo Switch 2. This is by Chris Stokel-Walker at Time. The original Nintendo Switch rewrote the rules for portable gaming. Its 2025 sequel increases the power without sacrificing portability. A sampling of its impressive stats, a NVIDIA Tegra T239 chip, alongside dedicated ray tracing and deep learning super sampling cores, let the new model run at 4K on TVs, while the on-device 7.9-inch HDR display runs handheld titles at 1080p and 120 Hz, meaning there's no flicker during gameplay. And, there's just a little bit. We know what the Switch 2 is. But what do you think of this making the list? I mean,
I think that it's really interesting. What is the I don't know, man. I I agree, but oh shit. I don't know if I want to say that actually. I do to a point. It's just that it's interesting to me that the ROG Ally X, whatever you want to say, that is on the same list, because we've had devices that are just as capable as that one.
Sure. I mean, the Steam Deck and others and
the Legion devices, like everything out there. And I mean, as far as the Nintendo Switch 2 goes, I would argue, I think that it's definitely up there as an out of the box gaming experience because the ROG Ally, it's going to take some, I guess I don't know. I should say, I don't know that it's not out of the box because it's an Xbox product. I haven't really looked a lot into it, but I know my experience with PC handhelds, it's not typically out of the box. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. So I mean, as far as portable gaming goes, the Nintendo Switch 2 definitely does set a standard in what the out of the box gaming experience could be. So I mean, I do agree with it in that point, but I have a hard time not rifling back and forth on that, Well,
it's just that it's so, you look at the rest of these things here, which are all kind of new things in whatever category they're in, right?
Yeah.
Including I know there is a ROG Ally previously, and now, they're kind of trying to blend the Xbox experience with that, and I think I agree with you that even that probably isn't the most innovative thing in the world. But I don't. We've talked about this before. The Nintendo Switch 2 really isn't doing anything too different, right?
No.
So to say it's one of the best inventions of 2025,
best inventions.
We love it, but
I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, though, the one that I'd probably argue the most is this Rave 3S on-demand karaoke machine.
Sure.
That's top of the top for inventions this last year.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's why Switch 2 made the list, right? Again, we've got a roller coaster. I don't know. We're
a roller coaster.
We're really all over the map here in this category.
I did give that roller coaster a Google. That's not where we thought it was.
Okay, I know I've heard the name. Okay. But I just wanted to throw that story in there because it's a mainstream outlet doing a Switch story, which we don't get too often, and
I like it. I like it. I'm happy about it. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm a sucker for all those Time Magazine Nintendo anythings. Like when I saw the Pokemon anniversary, I was like, oh, shoot, got to buy these.
It's hard not to. Story number 2. And I promise I won't do this for every rumor that we get. I know we did Red Dead last week, and but I just felt like this story was kind of interesting. So story number 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows Switch 2 rating has been spotted online. This is by Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. Ubisoft was already rumored to be bringing multiple titles to the Switch 2, so what else might we see beyond Star Wars Outlaws? According to a new listing on Peggy's website, Assassin's Creed Shadows is on the way to Nintendo's hybrid successor. You can see this on the homepage of the site, but when you click through to the rating, there's no mention of a Nintendo version, at least not yet. The new entry in Ubisoft's long-running series was released on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC platforms in March 2025 and received a PEGI 18 rating for violence and in-game purchases. They kind of detail what that rating is. And then we've got an update to the story from a Tuesday. Oh no, this is much older. So the most recent update here is after a rating in April and comments from Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot about some, quote, new versions of Assassin's Creed Shadows in July, a physical Switch 2 game key card listing has now been spotted on a French retailer website. And I should have written this down. It looks like the rumored date right now is December 5th, which is coming in hot. I feel like that's very interesting for Ubisoft's biggest franchise, I think, by far, to just kind of shit it out in December and be like, here it is. You know, a game that already I felt kind of had a muddy launch. People seem to like the game, but it kind of came and went, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know?
It did. So, it did. It definitely did.
I know we've talked about the Star Wars Outlaws port, which I think we were both kind of impressed by what we saw there and are both maybe willing to try that. Does this give you the same kind of curiosity?
Honestly, not really. I don't know what it was. The Assassin's Creed series kind of lost its luster with me.
Okay.
A while back. I remember being extremely captivated by it in the Xbox 360 days.
Sure.
And I think nowadays, like, you know, I don't find myself as interested. I think we were talking a couple of weeks ago about a possible recommendation. Amanda was very interested in playing the one that has the pirate ships and stuff.
Yeah, Black Flag, which is rumored to be getting a remake. Yeah.
And I think I'd revisit it for something like that. But I mean, like we've said before, I'm so interested in new content for the Switch 2 that I think that if something looks remotely interesting, I'm pretty open to giving it a shot.
Yeah, you know? I'm trying to think of the timeline here. This game, they say, came out in March. I did try it. I probably played 10 hours of it. I think maybe Doom, The Dark Ages took me off of it, and that's why I never went back. Yeah. So I might be willing to try it on Switch. You know, Ubisoft is very good about the cloud saves and the cross save. So, I mean, I could even pick up where I left off on the Xbox here on the Switch too. So I might give that a shot. But if that rumor date is correct, that is the day after Metroid Prime 4. So I'll be a little busy with that if that is the case. Yeah. Story number 3. It was, quote, helpful that Nintendo killed the SNES PlayStation. Otherwise, Sony would have been, quote, stuck, says Shuhei Yoshida. This is by Damian McFerrin at Time Extension. Sony's PS1 turned 30 at the end of last year, and this year marks the 30th anniversary of the console's launch in the West. Former president of SIE Worldwide Studios for Sony Interactive Entertainment, Shuhei Yoshida, has been speaking to GameIndustry.biz about the arrival of Sony's legendary 32-bit hardware. Yoshida, who retired this year, was part of the PlayStation story from the very beginning. In fact, he was closely involved with the project when it was still a CD-ROM drive for Nintendo's SNES. The father of PlayStation, Ken Kutaragi, used to invite Yoshida to play around with prototypes of the machine. The system was already done and almost ready for manufacturing, and a few games were already finished, Yoshida recalls. I played one game that was a space shooter, but still, it was based on Super Nintendo tech, right? So it was limited. Ultimately, Nintendo balked at the notion of Sony taking royalties on the SNES PlayStation software and famously backed out of the deal at the Consumer Electronics Show in June 1991, instead inking a new agreement with Dutch pioneer giant Philips, which we know how those games turned out. A plan to produce a different CD add-on for the SNES was quietly canceled before any hardware was prototyped, but we did get some Nintendo-themed CDI games. At the time, Nintendo's walking away from the deal was something of an embarrassment to Sony, which had struggled to gain a foothold in the growing gaming sector up to that point. However, in Yoshida's eyes, it would prove to be a positive event for the company. He feels that the failure of Sega's Mega CD add-on for the Genesis proved that bolting optical media to existing 16-bit systems was not the way forward. He feels that the concept was, quote, very limited to the actual PlayStation, and that it was almost helpful that Nintendo canceled the project. Otherwise, the Sony team would have been stuck as part of a Nintendo system. Indeed, history has proven this to be the case. Divorced from Nintendo and aching to prove its worth, Sony gave Kutaragi the blessing to turn the PlayStation concept into a fully fledged console, and you know the rest of the story. Quote, Nintendo created their big competition, Yoshida tells GameIndustry.biz, but competition is always healthy. Now Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation seem to be going in very different directions, and I think that's great for the overall industry. This is one of my favorite events in video game history that Nintendo effectively created their largest competitor in the in the console space. What do you think about this idea that Nintendo essentially created their this juggernaut?
No, I think I love it. I think it's funny though at the end where they're like, yeah, we're all going in different directions. And it's like,
yeah,
I think they're going to be coming after what you're doing here real shortly. But yeah, sure.
It does seem like that, right?
It does. I think all the big players are trying to get into the portable space now. But I mean, I love that. I'm with you. I know we've talked in the past about history, especially with PlayStation and Nintendo. I find that super interesting. I think it's very fun. I love the old marketing like we've talked about.
Yeah.
But it is so funny, that villain story, they have that. At one point it was a partnership and now they're, I mean, not mortal enemies, but you know what I mean? Like they are very much
right
against each other. So, but no, I do think it's kind of it's very coy of Nintendo though to say that we're all heading in different directions. I think that's an interesting thing for them to put out there like that, because we all know, like I said, I don't know.
I love the bit here about the reasoning for the deal falling through, and it's that Nintendo wouldn't let Sony take royalties for the device itself. Like, Nintendo, pay people. Like, they're doing this. They're making this thing. Like, fucking pay them, okay? I don't know. It's just, that's such a Nintendo thing to do. To be like, you want money for this? Too bad. We're out. We're going to go make the Wand of Gamelon over on the CDI. Jesus. Okay. Story number 4. Nintendo allegedly hacked by Crimson Collective hacking group. Screenshots shows leaked folders, production assets, developer files, and backups. This is from Joey Morales at Tom's Hardware. A high-profile hacking group called Crimson Collective claimed that it had successfully hacked Nintendo, which is notorious for being litigious and overprotective of its intellectual property. Cybersecurity intelligence firm HackBanic shared a screenshot on X that allegedly showed proof of the attack with folders that seemingly stored Nintendo data, including production assets, developer files, and backups. However, the Japanese gaming giant is yet to make a statement about this attack, so we're unsure if it is real or just a made-up screenshot. Crimson Collective is the group behind a recent attack on Red Hat, during which it gained unauthorized access to the company's GitHub repositories and stole about 570 gigabytes of data. The group then attempted to extort the company, but was simply dismissed. Red Hat eventually confirmed the breach, opting to work with the authorities to pursue the attackers and collaborating with its affected clients to rectify the issue. If this attack on Nintendo is legitimate and perpetrated by the same party, then it's likely they are attempting the same tactic of contacting the gaming giant through official channels and asking for payment to delete the stolen data, or else they will leak it. How do you see that going?
I don't see that going well for them.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to pay for the PlayStation. So
you're right.
I don't know that they're going to pay for this.
Funny. That's my first thought. I was like, these guys are not getting what they want.
No, absolutely not. These leaks are always interesting. Do you remember that Nintendo Mega Leak from, it's probably been almost a decade by now, but like there was so much cool like concept artwork and canceled like I felt like for years we were just learning about, hidden things from the public.
I do think that's really fun. So there's like a part of me that's like, release the files. Like I want to, I want to know. But I mean, you wonder that 570 gigs is nothing to, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff.
Well, and we should point out that a lot of times when this stuff happens, a lot of employee like personal data goes along with it, and that's not cool. You know, I know when Insomniac got hacked, we all talked about Wolverine and Venom and all that stuff, right? But it's like, no, these people's addresses and social security numbers and all these things.
You know, and now that you say that, now I want to address that and just say that sucks. And I feel like if you're going to Robin Hood yourself some Nintendo secrets, they should at least be cool about it to those people. And just be like, here's the good bits of info that we're all curious about, but you don't need to know Robert's house address.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I thought this was interesting. We'll see what comes of this, if anything. But I'm with you. I don't see Nintendo playing ball, and so who knows? We'll see if anything comes of that.
You know, I do also though. I am picky about what was leaked. There's some stuff that I think I wouldn't want to know, though.
Okay.
You know,
well, that's interesting because I'm actually going to ask you about something kind of related to that in a little bit.
Should I hold my tongue on that then?
Sure. I mean, I literally am going to ask you about your feelings about that in just a second.
All right. Keep going.
So this was going to be our last story coming up. My fun story that I like to throw in there. But then I had this other one come up. So story number 5, power up your Polaroids with Instax Mini Link's new Mario update. This is by Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. Remember Nintendo's collaboration with Fujifilm? The one that will let you add all kinds of Switch relevant frames and stickers to your screenshotted Polaroids with an asterisk because they're not Polaroids via the Instax Mini Link 3. Don't worry, we had forgotten about it too, but the company has just released a new update to help add an extra bit of Mushroom Kingdom flair to your physical snaps. The main addition in this update is the Instax Air Studio. As the capitalization on the former suggests, the new studio lets you take photos with some Mario AR effects to boot. So if you need a pic of your friend hitting a question block, holding a red shell, or popping up a warp pipe, you're in luck. Similarly self-explanatory is the new click to collage feature, which takes snaps at 3-second intervals and lets you throw in some familiar Mario faces for good measure. With the collection snapped up, you can then print out the full series photo booth style. Of course, it wouldn't be a Mario update without some fresh merch to boot, and Fujifilm revealed that a new limited edition Instax Mini Link 3 bundle featuring a sweet question block silicone case will be launching later this month for $149.95.
Oh no!
US. Yeah. Ooh. Fujifilm launched a similar bundle for the Splatoon 3 update back in 2023, where the arrival of new in-app stickers and frames were accompanied by a squid-shaped case. The advantage this time around is that we have the Switch 2 to make transferring images from your console to mobile much easier. The Instax Mini Link 3 works with both Switch 1 and 2, we should add. But if you want to get some snaps of Mario Kart World like the Cool Kids in the Above trailer, which I guess I should play here now that I've said it, you'll obviously need the latest hardware. Okay, Instax Mini. You're aware of this product, I believe?
I am aware, yeah.
Okay. Does this entice you at all to use it?
It does. I don't.
It's kind of cool.
I don't like that it does, but it does.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I love photography, so I love physical photos, and Amanda and I are Polaroid fanatics, so we do like to dabble in that space. And yeah, this is extremely enticing. I really like the idea of it, so I'm already looking into it.
Okay, cool. Do you have this device?
No, I don't.
Or no? Okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, we'll have the trailer playing here, but yeah, I think the effects they have are neat. I don't know how much I would actually use them kind of after the initial surprise of it all wears off, but it's cool. It's a fun collaboration. I like that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So story number 6, before we get into this, just talked about leaks. Okay. So I want to know, because some people are sensitive to having announcements and things like that spoiled and don't want that. And particularly with this franchise we're going to discuss, which I know you can see on the doc, I know people are sensitive to that. So if you don't want to discuss this story, I totally understand.
I do, but should we give a disclaimer in case people don't want to hear?
Yeah. So now that I know that you're cool with it, okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to talk about the leaked Pokemon roadmap that has graced the internet over the past few days with the next 5 years of game plans. If you don't want to hear about this, then there will be a time code on screen or in the description if you're listening, and you can skip ahead to that. So go ahead and do that. But we're going to go ahead and talk about this Pokemon leak. Story number 6. New Pokemon roadmap leak reveals next 5 years of games. This is by Abdullah Jawad at The Game Post. I copied more than I intended to there. A new Pokemon roadmap has reportedly leaked, revealing Game Freak's plans for Gen 10, Gen 11, Legends Galar, and more. A massive new Pokemon leak has hit the internet, and it's giving fans a peek behind the curtain at what Game Freak might be planning for the next 5 years. The info comes from Centro Leaks, which shared what looks like internal documents and images outlining several upcoming Pokemon projects from new generations to online games. According to what's been shared, Game Freak's current focus is Pokemon Gen 10, which is titled Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, reportedly set for 2026, followed by new downloadable content in 2027. After that, the studio seems to be planning Pokemon Legends Galar, which is the region featured in Sword and Shield, with a release window sometime around 2027 or later. There's also mention of a mysterious multi-region remake expected to arrive closer to 2028 or beyond. So going through the full list here, I think I just mentioned all of that, and then they also have a 2030 release date for Pokemon Gen 11, which is wild. Obviously, they do have to plan out that far, but it's just wild to see that attached to something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As mentioned above, Pokemon Wind and Pokemon Waves are believed to make up Generation 10 per leaked details. These titles are said to focus on a theme of infinity and take place across a chain of islands inspired by Southeast Asia. Now let's talk about the multi-region remake, which reportedly carries the codename Project Seed. According to the leaked notes, Game Freak's goal is to let players walk seamlessly from Sinnoh to Hoenn, with Kitakami from Scarlet and Violet's DLC included as well. It's the kind of connected world concept fans have wanted for years, a full Pokemon adventure that spans multiple regions instead of being locked to just one. What's especially interesting is the name Seed also shows up in a separate context, describing a prototyping project for a next-generation online Pokemon game. The document says it's, quote, playable by multiple people set in a region that connects Hoenn and Sinnoh. I don't think that's a coincidence. That makes it sound like an MMO experience, or at least an online co-op world, something Pokemon has never done on this scale before. Then there's the big reveal. Pokemon Legends 3 is set in Galar, and it's taking things way back, roughly 1,000 years in the past. The leak claims players will be tasked with creating the first Gigamax Pokeball, a clever way to tie the story into Galar's unique Dynamax and Gigantamax mechanics. Okay, that's kind of it. So, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First off, general thoughts. Is this exciting as a Pokemon fan?
Huge. This is so huge. And the thing is, the reason I was hesitant, you were like, do you want to talk about this? And I really do. But man, is the timing awful, because I am excited for Pokemon ZA coming up tomorrow. Well, for us tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I want. Like Winds and Waves. This is what I want. Those screenshots are incredible if they're real.
Yeah. So, yeah, visually, what we're seeing looks pretty impressive.
It's intense, man. The lighting. I'm looking at one particular one where you can kind of see the character. It's a female character, and it got like an EV binder, and there's a Snorlax under a tree, and it is gorgeous, like stunning. And I hate to describe photos on here because I don't know that we'll be putting those on here. And just being careful.
I think we probably can. I think people will wanna. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, like, my God, is it gorgeous? And like, just the idea. I know some of this stuff is obviously on those further along anticipated releases, but like Winds and Waves, even. I mean, I couldn't go anywhere online without having seen this over the last couple of days, even through the last weekend. And I mean, when we talked about this generation, the game coming out tomorrow, when we talked about this initially, like, this is kind of what we wanted. This is what I was hoping to see in like Lumio City, is that freedom to explore and all that kind of stuff. And like what that really having that immersion in the world of Pokemon. And this looks like what I want. This looks like exactly what I want. Yeah. And some of the screenshots I saw, I don't know, tell me if you saw these, but I saw like a a very like a newly renditioned, reimagined Trainer Red wandering
I
around.
don't think I saw that. No,
Man,
I like
I
that.
saw that and lose my mind because I saw some fan developer made like this reimagined Pokemon Red a while ago, and I remember being
Okay.
like, "Man, this is like what we want. This is what we all want." And when I saw that photo of Red, and that might have been totally not legit, but it was packaged in one of these kind of articles. I was like, "You
Okay.
got to be kidding me!" Like,
So, well, I think the thing to point out for people that might be listening and not watching here is that the biggest takeaway from that screenshot that you're talking about, Jordan, is how much detail is in it. That's
yes,
been one of the complaints about recent Pokemon games, that they feel empty,
yes,
or there aren't a lot of complex textures, or just kind of low poly, all that stuff. And this doesn't feel like that. It's in kind of a jungle setting. There are a lot of Pokemon on screen, the player character, and I think that's great. We kind of talked about ZA potentially being held back by being a Switch 1 game with a Switch 2 version. This, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is fully a Switch 2
yeah,
exclusive game, right?
yeah. Maybe even with some updates. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but yeah, it's hard to see something like this is hard to see and swallow right now when we're about to play something entirely different in the next couple of days. And
Right.
that's why it makes it so tough, I think.
I mean, and we'll talk about ZA in a few minutes here, but I think because that is going to be such a different experience, I guess I'm assuming that Winds and Waves will be kind of your traditional turn-based combat
Yeah.
and all that stuff, which ZA is trying something new. It's not doing that.
Right.
So maybe we can kind of compartmentalize and just separate those things as separate things, but
It's a good strategy. Yeah.
who knows? I think it's interesting that it's a 2026 release, which makes sense. I mean, the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise, DLC in 2027. They've had some success with the past couple generations doing DLC. But then I also find it interesting that this third Legends game could also potentially come out in 2027.
Yeah.
So maybe we get, first half of the year we get some DLC, and then we get a new Legends game there. So does that do anything for you? The idea that, it wasn't my favorite. I should say I don't have a problem with the region itself. Sword and Shield were not my favorite.
Yeah.
So the idea of Galar, especially 1,000 years ago, I don't know. The past aspect, as much as I thought it was interesting in Arceus, it wasn't my favorite,
Yeah.
I felt like the things they did with it were kind of lazy. It's like, here's a Pokeball, but it looks old. And it's like, but it's still, it's all the same stuff you're used to. It's just, we kind of made it
like fully, it's like the 3D printed weird version that someone made in their garage.
You didn't really rethink this. You just kind of put an old coat of paint on it.
I mean, I really got head deep in Scarlet and Violet. Well, really Violet, but Arceus though, like that captured me so wholly at that time. Like I was so into Arceus, but I remember the entire time wishing it was something that it wasn't. And then even Violet didn't scratch the itch that I was looking for from Arceus. But at the same time, Arceus captured a part of me that Violet never did. So like this whole time, I feel like, and I'm going into ZA or ZA, whatever you want to say. Like I'm going into that with high hopes, but I have a feeling I'm going to love it, but also look back to these other ones and be like, oh, but I really like that because it did this. I like that one because of this.
Okay.
And I think it's all going to be kind of put in these different boxes where I'm going to wish something had something and, never fully satisfied. But here I am thinking Winds and Waves is going to be the answer to all my ailments with Pokemon. And maybe it won't be. I don't know, but.
Well, if it isn't, then you have Project Seed to look forward to. Seed. And so this is the multi-region. It's interesting. So different reports I see are listing it just as a multi-region game. Some are listing it as a multi-region remake. I don't know how that would work because we haven't ever got a game with more than one region besides Gold and Silver initially, where you go back to Kanto. So this idea that it's a remake is interesting. I don't know how that'll work.
Was Seed the 2030 one?
No, this is the 2028 one. That's apparently an MMO, and you can go between Hoenn, which is the Gen 3 continent or whatever, and then Sinnoh from Diamond and Pearl, and then Kitakami, which I'm not familiar with. I guess that's from the DLC for Scarlet and Violet. So it's interesting, but I don't know how that's going to work as a remake. Both of those regions have already seen remakes on the 3DS and then on the Switch. So I don't know. We'll see what that shapes up to be. But this idea of an MMO Pokemon, I mean, is very appealing to people, and I think has been for a very, very long time. Does that move the needle for you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Honestly, all of this sounds extremely enticing in its own way. I think all of them are going to scratch some kind of itch. And honestly, doesn't it make you nervous knowing that these are being planned, like the way they're being planned out? It almost makes sense because it almost feels like you're realizing how even current day Pokemon titles were planned out. And it's like they had these ideas and teams and they were like, okay, this one's going to like do this and this one's going to have this. And it's like, since they're clearly not creating these one at a time. They have separate teams.
Oh yeah.
So these teams have these different ideas, and that's why we're not getting like the next iteration of Pokemon it's not like necessarily building on the last big release. It's something kind of new or different and has this different idea. And like that feels frustrating to me, you know?
Yeah, especially when you kind of look at the analogs here, like sure, like Scarlet and Violet came out, I want to say in 2021, maybe 22.
Sounds right. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but okay. So we're looking at either 4 or 5 years of development, you know, from that to Winds and Waves. But then Legends, assuming that's that same team, that's a 2-year development window between, you know, so clearly that game's they've been working on that third Legends game, if that's the case. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, I feel like it's weird to say it, but now 2 years from development, that's not a lot of time anymore.
Right.
Games take a very long time to make now. So you're right. I mean, they could be looking at criticism that they're getting in reviews right now for ZA, and it's too late to do anything about it because they're already, you know, a year or two into development of this game.
Oh, man, I got some anxiety about ZA. I don't know.
And then of course we have Gen 11 in 2030. Really no details beyond that, but
thank God.
It doesn't, that to me that feels like a short, I guess it's not, right? If we're talking 22 to 26 and then 26 to 30, it's 4 years, but I don't know, for some reason it doesn't seem far enough away to be, you know, 2 generations from now, I guess. I don't know.
Like I think about the development time between the larger Zeldas. It's a long time.
Sure. Yeah.
And warranted, you know, like, so when I see like 5 years, you're right. And I'm over here being like, thank God. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, like, thank God though, in a way. I mean, but
yeah,
I'm kind of hoping like if we're feeling like some changes need to be made, then let's bump that thing out a little bit, you know, like, you don't need to give it to us in 2030. Maybe let that thing bake a little longer, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever we need to do to have a game that looks like what we're looking at here, let's do that, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's where we're at the fan base is at. They really want games that just perform well and look polished and, you know, and which shouldn't be asking for a ton, but they haven't got one in a very long time. Pokemon is,
we really just want games that you can play and they perform all right and they look okay.
But like, I don't feel like they've really knocked one out of the park since like Black and White on the DS. And you know, like I felt like X and Y was boring. Sun and Moon certainly didn't work for me. And I feel like the ones on the Switch, generally the problem is that they either don't run well or they're butt ugly, you know?
The Switch ones were a big miss for the most part. Honestly, and you know, I could get a lot of hate for this, but like Sun and Moon, the game wouldn't tell me how to, like, it would not stop telling me how to play the game to the point where I was like, oh my God. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, let it go.
Yeah. So we'll see. I hope that they are taking some of this feedback, you know, but But who knows? We have no idea how long they've actually been working on this stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Our last story is story number 7, a Pokemon Legends ZA review roundup. So I'm going to open critic here for this one, where the game currently has an 81 critic average, which is not bad, you know. It's a B minus, not a bad score.
Oh, I don't like a B minus.
But what's interesting to me is it feels like there's a lot of variety in these scores. You know, I think to say that the scores are mixed is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It just, you know, I'm seeing 9s and 10s, but I'm also seeing, 6, 7, 8s. So, I don't know. There are people I think that are really, really vibing with this. I've seen it called the best Pokemon game of the Switch era, or, kind of right below Arceus, which I guess seems to be from what I've been reading this week, the consensus seems to be that is the best Pokemon of the Switch era. I would say I think I liked Violet more personally, but I get it. Arceus was fine. So yeah, an 81 average. Let's pick out a couple blurbs for you here. We'll go to Alana Higgs at Nintendo Life, who gave it a 7 out of 10. Pokemon Legends ZA should be celebrated for its fabulous real-time combat and its largely smooth jump to the Switch 2, but in condensing things down to one single location, it loses part of the Pokemon magic that Arceus and many other entries managed to amplify. I'll forever find filling up my Pokedex fun, but for the Switch 2 generation, this is a good starting point for the franchise. But if the Legends series is to continue, it needs to recapture its personality and fuse that real-time system with a bit more freedom. Man, I had one yesterday. Sorry, I had one yesterday that I wanted to read that now I have lost.
I see a couple hopeful things in here.
Yeah. Shoot, I don't know where. Well, okay. Well, I mean, this is pretty promising. Catherine Lewis at Games Radar Plus gave the game a 4 out of 5, 4 stars out of 5. And the blurb here is just, that dream sold to us by the Pokemon anime. It's right here, clearer than it has ever been. And that is kind of a sentiment I've seen thrown around, is that because of the real-time system, it kind of feels like you're living that anime, which has always been something I've been interested in, as someone who grew up watching that, and you did too. I like the idea of the game kind of feeling more alive.
I definitely am interested in that. It's a big statement. That's a really big statement, because to me, making that promise to me makes me think about the screenshots that we were just looking at, of the other thing we were talking about. And I just hope that the city does feel alive, hustling, bustling, because the thing that really takes me out of the immersion experience is what I keep seeing, where like those invisible boundaries kind of pop up when you walk to an area.
Okay. Yeah.
And I see so much of that happening in the city that I'm like, man, like, I don't want that. Just that simple thing of those not being there, those not popping up, like that is such a difference to me if they just didn't do stuff like that. That's what makes me feel like I'm in a cage, like I'm in a very planned environment. Like I see a ton of that. So I'm really, really hoping that maybe they're just kind of emphasizing right now, like, oh, there are some of these spaces, but there's tons of other places to exist. So like, to me, if they do that and section that city off too harshly, I think that's where I'm going to have a problem. But if the city really is pretty sizable, there's lots of places you can go, and they don't do a lot of that, I think I'll be pretty happy. But I can already tell that the people seem to think that you feeling so limited to the city is something that kind of takes them back, and I feel like I'm definitely going to be one of those folks that feel that way.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I did just read a blurb here that calls Lumino City a treat to revisit. So it could be a to each their own kind of thing. I don't know necessarily, but it is one of those games. I think Arceus kind of showed me that I need to actually play this before I can really judge it, because I kind of thought I knew what Arceus would be, or at least what it wasn't going to be. And I think I was wrong about that. I think there was much more game there than I previously thought. And I'm happy that I was wrong about that.
You know what I really liked about Arceus that I want to bring up is, and I'm hoping to have a similar experience with this. Understandably, it's understandable that the stories are vastly different. So, I may not get these same feelings, and you played through Arceus?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not really going to avoid spoiling anything that much, but I also won't be going into extreme detail. Sure. I'm just saying there was a point in that game where there was like this tension because of the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could really feel it. Like it made me feel like hype. I was hype. It was exciting. It was kind of scary almost.
There were stakes.
There were stakes. And that gave me a little bit of that immersion where I felt like really connected to what was happening. And like, again, I don't mean to blow this out of proportion, but like I loved that the game gave me a feeling.
Yeah. Because you don't expect it from Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I was into it. So I'm just hoping that like, even though all those concerns I just laid out, like I'm hoping that maybe even if the environment's a little takes you out of that immersion, I'm hoping maybe the story will give me some of that back,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll see by, this time next week, we'll have hopefully played a good chunk of this, each of us. And, we'll have plenty to say about it, I'm sure. I'm going to leave with this last blurb from Tom's Guide, who does not list a reviewer, but they gave it 4.5 stars out of 5. Pokemon Legends ZA flips everything I thought I knew about Pokemon battles on its head, putting a fresh spin on the nearly 30-year-old series. Spicing up its challenging new real-time battle system is the return of fan-favorite Mega Evolutions, which give every battle a subtle tinge of excitement. However, its stealth mechanics leave a lot to be desired, and the lack of voice acting still makes for rather off-putting story beats and cutscenes. So, a lot of good there. I really am interested to see how the real-time battling works in this. Yeah. Because Pokemon has been one thing that has evolved, over the years, but I'm excited to see how they make that work. And the two things they're complaining about here, I'm not playing Pokemon for stealth mechanics. And I know I'm not getting voice acting out of a game like this. Unfortunately, I think it would be nice, but I don't expect it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Voice acting, not really huge for me. I don't mind reading. It's not a big deal. But yeah, the stealth mechanics, unless this guy, like, I feel like now I'm going to play and I'm going to be hiding in a bush or something. And like, I'm not going to be able to hide from any Pokemon. I'll be like, that's what our buddy was saying.
Yeah. Tom's Guide. Okay. Let's get through the out this week so we can get to our topic this week. On October 23rd, there's a lot of games this week. We got Full Metal Schoolgirl for the Switch 2. Yeah, I know. Look that up or don't. That's up to you, listeners out there. That's October 23rd, like I said. Plants vs. Zombies Replanted on the Switch 1 and 2, also on the 23rd. Power Wash Simulator 2. I'm excited for this one.
Jesus.
On the Switch 2.
Good Lord.
It doesn't seem like there's a Switch 1 version from what I saw. I don't know if I'm incorrect in that, but yeah, that's on the 23rd. We got Persona 3 Reload on the Switch 2, which I had played the Persona 3 that was on Game Pass, and so not this remade version. So I don't know. I might give this a shot. We have Dreamed Away on the Switch 1 on the 23rd, and then Double Dragon Revive also on the Switch 1 on the 23rd, which you have highlighted. This is...
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, there was a trailer. I feel like this was announced relatively recently.
I
was kind of surprised to see it already coming out. And then we got a batch of games coming on the on October 24th on the Switch 1. We've got Once Upon a Katamari. Looks cool. Love Katamari. Don't know if I'm going to get to this anytime soon. Fast and Furious Arcade Edition, Switch 1. Chicken Run Extraction. And Dora Rainforest Rescue, and that is exactly what you think it is. So those are all on October 24th.
Real bangers.
Yeah. Anything catch your eye here?
Double Dragon Revive, actually.
Okay. Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, if I'll pick that up or not. I might be looking for that if it's for free elsewhere, but I'll check it out. I mean, I'm always interested when they kind of bring that stuff back,
Yeah. Battletoads Double Dragon guy over there.
Oh man, yeah, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you happen to ever go back and revisit that since we talked about it?
No, I have not. Not since we talked about it. No.
I did over the weekend.
Okay.
Just I had to.
Okay.
I loved it.
Still hold up?
It does. It's
Good.
so hard, man.
I know. Those games of that era are just all insane.
Bonkers. I love it.
So we kind of touched on this at the top, but our topic for this week, with Halloween coming up in a couple weeks, we wanted to talk about spooky and scary and just general games, or a general Halloween vibe in our games, right? And obviously that's kind of all over the map, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't feel like all horror games are Halloween games necessarily. And I don't feel like all Halloween games are scary even. So right off the top, I mean, I know the answer to this. Like, you like horror games, right? Like,
I do. I love horror games. I don't know why, but I do.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask what makes a good horror game, but I know for me, it's anything that kind of creates tension. I feel like that's why survival horror really works for me. More than like psychological or like, adventure games where you're solving puzzles. Like, I like that kind of Resident Evil, Silent Hill. Like, you have 9 bullets and you know there's stuff around the corner, but you can't kill it all. So you gotta figure it out. I really like that kind of tension. So, like, when you're looking for a horror game now in 2025, like what are you looking for there?
I'm looking, so it kind of varies. And I mean, like, I think that's going to be like the mystique of the topic, right? Like, that's going to be the dynamic piece, but it does vary because like I said, I want to like clarify when I say I don't really know why I like them. I mean that in a way of, I don't know why I'm more drawn to them than I am other games. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
I can tell you why I like them.
Yeah.
But as to why I'm drawn to them, I'm not so sure why it always trumps out of other things. But what I'm looking for, it kind of just depends. Like, I feel like for the most part, like you're saying, we're like playing a game where the stakes are high, that survival kind of situation where resources are limited and there's tension. Like, that is very drawing to me. So I really do enjoy that. But at the same time, a good story.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, there are some times where I don't want to get too deep into the topic so quick, but like, without getting too deep into it before we kind of discuss some of the games, like for instance, a game like Inside, an indie game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Versus, very creepy, very weird, ominous, very simple.
Yeah.
And then you take a game like, And then a game like you had mentioned, like Silent Hill, there's a whole story there. Like, those are both obviously creepy, kind of spooky, scary games, but for way different reasons. And, are they both scary? Maybe. Some, Silent Hill, obviously. Inside, probably not, but they're both kind of weird and spooky. Yeah.
Definitely. I think for me, I kind of mentioned the tension thing. I think there's also an unpredictability to it, because if I can see kind of the strings, that's not fun. Yeah. If I stick to the wall, the thing can't get me or it can't surprise me. Like, that's not any good. Like, I want some jump scares. I don't want entirely jump scares, right? But like,
oh God,
I definitely want to be caught off guard. Like, I'm lulled into like a false sense of security, and then things are not cool, and I've got to figure it out very quickly. I really like that. So, because I would say horror games aren't my go-to. I think I play them probably a lot more rarely than you do. But when I like them, I really like them.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 remake was that last year. I would love for that to come to Switch, but I went into that, not knowing a ton, just knowing that was a popular game and that people liked the remake, and I loved it.
Have you touched the newer one?
I haven't. I have it on hold from the library, but it's obviously popular, so
yeah,
gonna have to wait a little bit for that one.
I was just curious. That one looks very interesting to me. I've been really it's been in my cart on Steam for a while.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, people seem to love it. even more so than last year's remake. So
yeah.
So what about on the Nintendo side? Like that, I get the Vibe probably isn't your go-to platform for these kinds of games, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely say that. I think that there's a place for it. And I mean, I think we can get it out of the way early because there's not a lot like Nintendo. What you
like Nintendo proper, like first party stuff?
Yeah.
Certainly not anything recently.
No. And I think that, the fun is going to be kind of diving into like what could fit that category for us. And I mean, just to be clear too, like obviously a genre is a genre. So some of these that we bring up, it's not like we're discovering that these are horror games.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like what we would put in that bucket for us, and so, off the top, Luigi's Mansion, right?
Yeah, so I have that listed here. It's obviously fits the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
How startled are you getting when you're playing Luigi's Mansion?
I'm not, and I'm sure you're not either. It's really
every once in a while, but
rarely. Yeah, well, there's
certainly not in a real like oh my god way, but
right.
It does catch up.
I think that the original and again, I know we've spoken about Luigi's Mansion in the past, so I'm gonna try really hard to not hone in on some of the things I've already said about the game. I do really love that game, but I mean, it's just that like spooky atmosphere. It's the music, it's the noises from the house, and like just the fact that at that time it was so different. But it really is like the music that's playing is not loud. It's not like aggressive. It's just there. Yeah. And that is unsettling.
It is, because at any point you're going to hear that screech and something's going to fly out at you. And it kind of does the thing we talked about where you have a very limited toolkit. You have this vacuum. And at least at the beginning of these games, it can really only do the one thing. And,
the big suck.
Yeah. And and that can be scary, knowing like I gotta suck up this ghost. That's all I can do. I can't. That's all I got. I can't run. I can't shoot it. I can't. I just gotta get it in the vacuum.
I gotta get it in the vacuum, and then at one point you're like, I can. Oh my god! I gotta be careful with how I'm saying this, but like you can
I think I know
you can suction.
Oh, okay.
Some things to it and shoot it.
Yeah.
You can suck balls, dude. Okay.
You can flash them too with that flashlight. So I know we've both played the original Luigi's Mansion. I know I'm a fan of the second game on the 3DS. I don't think you are as much. Have you played 3? I don't know that we've ever really talked about 3. Because I haven't.
No,
I picked it up recently, Marketplace pickup. So I have it, but I haven't.
Man, I gotta tell you, that was the most refreshing one since the first one for me.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed it. This is one of those games that Switch forgot how long I've played it, which is so incredibly irritating to me, for how much time I've spent on this game.
Yeah.
But like, I really enjoyed the atmosphere in that one right off the get. I was into it. I loved, because I mean, who doesn't love new cinematics? Who doesn't love when you bring a game into its current time? So like right off the bat, the cutscenes, everything, like I was pretty drawn in. It's beautiful. The story's fun. Gooigi's cool. Like the puzzling,
Okay. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and it brings back a little, in my opinion, a little more of that original kind of spookiness back to it. Because you're creeping around, you got that music going. Like they introduced a couple of different, I don't want to say mechanics, but like things to expect. It wasn't so incredibly predictable all the time, So yeah, no, I'd check it out, man. I really did enjoy it. Honestly, talking about it's making me want to go back and play it again. So
kind of taking it back to the topic at hand, is it a good Halloween game? Is it,
I think so.
Tense and scary enough that you would recommend it for this time of year to get?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And again, like I'm not saying it's a real scary game or even like a survival horror, but it's like it's spooky and I enjoy that this time of year. So like for me personally, I'd lump it into a nice little Halloween game. And I mean, we talked maybe an important thing to lay out there is when we spoke on our fall games, we did clarify that maybe fall doesn't necessarily always mean spooky games.
Yeah.
I know for me, it tends to blend in, but Luigi's Mansion 3 is a really good example, I think, of a game that for me would be a pretty specific Halloween game. Why it differs from the first one, I don't know that I can exactly tell you, but it just kind of feels, I think it might be the atmosphere or the circumstance, maybe.
Yeah.
That brings it there for me, but.
Yeah, I kind of in the same vein, I wanted to shout out, and unfortunately, I don't believe either of these are available on Switch. I know the second game was on the Wii U, but the two Costume Quest games from Double Fine are very similar. They're not, going to give you a heart attack. They're not going to, keep you awake at night, but they are fun Halloween themed games with a lot of humor to them, and I like that. They're cool. I don't know if they'll ever come to Switch, but it'd be nice if they did. So just a little shout out there. The other big Nintendo game, though, the one time they've done this, I want to talk about Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
That's a good one.
Yeah, have you played this one? Because I feel like it's one of those that's kind of just there, and a lot of people, we talked last week about people kind of overlooking different Nintendo games. I feel like this is one that people kind of overlook. And
I have played this. It's been a very long time, and I always get this one confused with another game. So I'm going back here and looking to make sure that if we talk through any story elements that I don't get confused. But no, I have played this. And I like it. It was never one that stuck around for me. It didn't follow me, I guess, but I did enjoy this at the time. It's been so long. I'm kind of curious to go back and play it. This is kind of one that'd be cool if they brought it back, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I have never had the opportunity to play this game. From what I understand, it is very scary, the content itself, but also the way that it kind of messes with you as a player. It's changing the camera angles and making you feel like the TV or the GameCube, something's wrong with it. This has the distinction of being the first M-rated game that Nintendo published. And I don't believe there are too many. And yeah, it'd be nice if this comes to Switch Online. They did the mature 17 plus app for the N64 games. So maybe it makes sense, especially since it's a first party title, to do that for the GameCube side. But I would love to see this come back. And I don't know, I feel like Nintendo is so different now that I can't see them trying to revive this franchise with like a new game.
Yeah.
Do you see current day Nintendo doing anything like this?
I don't know, because current day Nintendo is so different in these kind of ways. I was actually I promise I'm not derailing this by saying this. But I was talking with my friend the other day about Conkers and how it didn't make my list or our list.
Yeah.
And how wild that was that happened at that time. And maybe we've touched on it too here, but in that same vein, I'm surprised that was, maybe I have some research to do and maybe there's something I don't know about, a conspiracy or something, but I think it's wild that passed back in that time. And in that same vein, even they were more loose back then. They were. And that surprises me because that's a different type of surprise. But I feel like we had a little bit more variety when it came to, I don't want to say ideas. I don't want to say inspiration. But I things nowadays to me feel very light.
Yeah. So it's funny that you bring that game up. I feel like I just watched a video last week and they talked about something that I hadn't realized, because I think I was under the assumption that Nintendo, like the other Rare games on N64, published this game. And it turns out they didn't. This was self-published by Rare, and it seemed like Nintendo kind of tried to distance themselves from it as much as they could. And now I'm kind of connecting the dots, because I was also just thinking about how they then were acquired by Microsoft and, went on to do what they did there. I wonder if this game was maybe kind of the thing that made Nintendo go, yeah, we don't need them anymore.
Yeah.
Because this is one of their last big games before that. Before they got scooped up, they were looking to be bought. Nintendo wasn't interested in doing that, and then they joined Team Xbox.
What Eternal Darkness reminds me of so much, the game that I was referring to is Amnesia.
Yes. Yeah.
And I constantly get this confused, and it's that sanity mechanic.
Yep.
That always kind of twists me on that, but yeah, man, I don't. That's such a weird thing. That's such an interesting thing. I don't know.
Yeah, Amnesia Collection is available on Switch, by the way.
I know, and
I've never played any of those.
That's a scary one. That is a scary game.
Yeah. That kind of stuff, like Slender, and I feel like that kind of all had its moment. And I don't know.
Slender is totally not the same ballpark.
Well, sure,
I don't think.
Sure. I don't know. I feel like these kinds of horror games, I kind of initially I'm like, oh, very cool, like I love it, and then it's kind of what I talked about. Once I can feel like, and Slender very much was this, where once I feel like I get it and I know how it operates, it's not fun anymore because I know how to avoid it. I can just like, I'm not afraid of it,
Yeah. No, I know.
But
I mean, Amnesia was very much like old Outlast in a way.
Okay. Yeah.
To me, I think, and I want to Google this right now, but I don't want to fall down a rabbit hole and not hear anything that you're saying back to me. But like, I'm curious though, because Amnesia is the first game I can think of that had that sanity mechanic. I think because that was before.
Yeah, those games are old, aren't they?
They are, and I don't remember how old. And I was trying to think a minute ago. I was trying to figure out which one came first. But because that, to me, when we discovered, I'm not sure if this was the same situation for you, but I only discovered Amnesia through a mutual friend we had, who told us about it, and then we played it at a friend's house. You and I.
Yeah, you're right. That sounds right. Yeah.
And I didn't know about it prior to that, and I just became I wasn't obsessed, but I was very interested, and at that time it was old. So yeah. I'm thinking like, I'm wondering how old is this game, but that was an interesting thing.
It looks like this first one maybe came out in 2010.
The Amnesia Darkness Net?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because it looks like then A Machine for Pigs was 2013. Justine was 2011.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
September
these aren't
8th.
as old as I thought they were, but
that is crazy though, because I swear at that time that was only a couple of years old or 2 years old or something.
Right. Well, maybe it's time to revisit those. They're 15 years old. So.
My God. Anywho.
So circling back to kind of that Eternal Darkness question I had for you, if Nintendo would do this now. And I think maybe the answer is they wouldn't do it themselves, but they would partner with somebody to do something like that. Yeah. And kind of in the same era, Nintendo had an exclusive partnership with Capcom. And from that, on the GameCube, we saw the Resident Evil remake, Resident Evil 0, and then, of course, Resident Evil 4. And it's so interesting because, like, when I think of GameCube games, I think, like you said, there's a certain tone that you're expecting from first-party Nintendo there. And then, so I think of my favorite GameCube games, and it's like Metroid, Zelda, Smash Bros., Resident Evil 4. And it's like, that's so jarring that one's there, right? But, I mean, that kind of was a premier place for horror games in that era. And I think that's very cool. And it, all three of those games got Wii ports with motion controls and kind of continued that legacy. And it does look like we're going back there with Requiem coming to Switch 2 day and date, which is cool. Yeah, I love Resident Evil, especially that era. Like 4 is just, I played the original 4 right before the remake came out. Yeah. And it holds up pretty well. I mean, there's some pain points that you're kind of like, I gotta backtrack and I gotta do, but the remake of 4 is pretty perfect. It's pretty 1-to-1. They didn't change a lot, which in some ways I think is nice, and others, I wish I had been a little more surprised as I played through it. But that's one I would love to revisit on Switch too if that were to happen. Do you have kind of like for third party options, scary horror options on the Switch or other Nintendo platforms that kind of come to mind?
I do. I'm trying to like differentiate indie because I feel like, I mean, I guess you could just lump them in.
Sure, yeah. One of my examples is definitely an indie game. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so Little Nightmares, obviously, right?
Yeah.
That's big. Obviously, like you said, or I guess we're talking Switch. Yeah. So Little Nightmares. I mentioned Inside. I may have mentioned Limbo.
Yeah. Same sort of vibe.
Trying to think of the Switch generation. To be truthfully, I don't think I played a whole lot of what I would consider like a horror or spooky game outside of Luigi's Mansion, like we talked about on the Switch in its lifespan. A lot of the luster for horror, I feel like, is on prior consoles for Nintendo, but or it's just like super. It is all indie, you know what I mean? But as far as the Switch life cycle goes, though, not a whole lot outside of the indie space. What would you say?
Well, I wanted to shout out Carrion, which is a Metroidvania where you are like a monster that like evolves as you go, and you just become more and more deadly to this. You're kind of this escaped experiment, and you're killing all of the scientists and things like that as you go. That game's awesome. I did not play that on Switch, but it is there. And then the Walking Dead Telltale games, which again didn't originate on Switch, but especially that first one is so good. And that is a very story heavy game and very emotional. But yeah, I would recommend anyone play at least that first season of the Telltale Walking Dead game.
Those were huge for a while, the Telltale games. And I mean, I think
liked the second one too, and then I never played the other ones.
I kind of wish that we would have explored that more thoroughly, those types of games. Because I feel like we kind of gave up. We threw in the towel on those kind of things. Because I mean, what's that summer camp scary game?
So there's Until Dawn, and then they made the Quarry.
The Quarry,
the one, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I think those are fun.
Yeah, I like those kinds of games too. I think Telltale specifically kind of tried to do too much. And kind of imploded, and now they're trying to bring that back, but we'll see what happens, because there are several of those that I really liked. I thought the Batman one was very good. The Walking Dead we mentioned, The Wolf Among Us, like there's some good there. There was some bad. Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of filler, a lot of awful people just trying to make some money,
Yeah. Okay, so then kind of going back to like just Halloween themed games.
Yeah.
Do you have games that either kind of encompass that spirit? Maybe an event in a game that you play? Because I know, like, for me, like Fortnitemares is happening right now, and I feel like Fortnite does such a good job with their Halloween content. In game, there's all sorts of different items. They have a witch broom that takes you back in the air, and you can kind of redeploy. The chainsaw. They have this really cool Scream inspired one right now where you can call, and it will kind of ping out, and so you can see if there's people near you, and then you have the knife, and it will kind of
that is crazy cool.
So, and and they're selling all sorts of skins. They got Scooby Doo, they've got the Black Phone guy, they've got they have Ghostface, so they're doing it up, and they've done great ones in the past too. But yeah, wanted to shout out Fortnitemares because this is one of the events I look forward to in that game every year.
Yeah, no, I love events in games. I know we discussed that a little bit. I think that's so fun, and it's something I wish we could see more of. And had like, because I think of games like Pokemon too. Like, right, we're looking forward to that coming around the corner. Like incorporating stuff like that. Like into games like that. I would love that, even if it's just making it kind of fall and spooky for the day or something like that. Does so much for me, but. One of the Halloween games I kind of wanted to shout out. Have you ever played? This is a weird one. Have you ever played Geist on GameCube?
So, okay. It's funny. I wrote this down because I was obsessed with the idea of Geist. It was, again, another rated M GameCube game of that same era. we were not old enough to buy M-rated games at that time, and my parents would not let me play this game. And so I would read about it in Nintendo Power, and I thought it was so interesting. And now you read, the reception section on Wikipedia, and you're like, okay, it didn't review very well, but it's one of those that I would love to actually play.
Man, I really like Geist. So it's never a game that I've thought was super remarkable, but it's a game I've played and I do enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie and say I've gone back to it a million times or anything, but like
I don't think anybody has.
I'd file it into the win back category.
Truly a forgotten, especially in terms of Nintendo first party stuff, just a forgotten game.
But I mean, for those who have never heard of Geist, it is a first person shooter. It was, would you say, I might be wrong by saying this, but I think this was another one of those M-rated early. Oh, you were. Yeah. That's kind of what you were saying, actually. Yeah. It
was an M-rated game. I think it was a late GameCube game. I want to say like 2005.
I'd have to Google. I cannot remember. But I think you're right because I feel like I was in middle school when that game came out.
August 15th, 2005.
Yeah, we would have been in middle school for sure.
Did not come out in Japan. That's interesting for a Nintendo game.
It didn't?
It didn't. Nope.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, North America, Europe, and Australia, but no Japan.
Goodness Lord. All right. Well, so anyway, for everybody who is unfamiliar with Geist, it's essentially you're a scientist who works for the government on like paranormal research, and then you end up becoming like they betray you, and then you are experimented on, and your soul is ripped from your body, and you become this creature that can why am I forgetting? You can possess like people and objects and things. And it's just very fun and imaginative. It's very different. It's a different kind of first person shooter. So
yeah,
I think it's a lot of fun. It reminded me at the time. I'm trying to remember if this was before. Actually, it had to have been after because I remember thinking about it. Do you remember the game PsyOps?
I do. It's another one I never played, but I remember.
I loved PsyOps. That was a game that you had these powers that like I feel like I always wanted when I was a kid. It's like you very much have the psychic abilities. You can like pick things up, move them around. This is before that you could. This wasn't common in games at that time. Like I remember because now we got Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom where we're moving stuff around. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At that time, I'm like You're telling me I can stand on the block and move the block? You know what I mean? Like, you could do such cool stuff to puzzle. And I thought that was so interesting. And Geist, having those abilities, like it was another game that introduced mechanics or abilities or thoughts that like you hadn't really seen in a lot of other games. And I thought that was fun,
I absolutely would love if this came to Switch Online because I'm not gonna buy Geist, but I want to play it. I've always wanted to play it. I literally would pour over that article over and over. I thought it looked so interesting and just,
man, I'm now that I want to play that now too. That was, I had a good time playing that game. It very much reminded me of, what was that other shooter? Mirror's
Edge?
Mirror's Edge?
The parkour one?
No, I don't know what I'm thinking of, but the how the interface looked on that shooter, it reminded me of another shooter that was kind of early, but that's fun. I don't know. But yeah, Geist, ghosts, Halloween. It feels very
No, it's good. I am so excited that you mentioned Geist. I wasn't sure that it would fit in here.
So Geist, I feel like that's definitely a noteworthy mention for a nice little Halloween throwback. I'm not going to promise you the world though if you want to go play Geist, but give it a shot.
What about games that just have elements of this stuff that aren't necessarily horror games, right?
Okay,
but might kind of evoke that in different spots. For example, like I think Zelda has this from time to time.
Yeah. Okay.
We talk about the Shadow Temple. The Redeads in Ocarina of Time always get me. I don't like that scream. I don't like the way it freezes you and they walk. I hate that. It makes my skin crawl.
Do you think which Zelda game has the scariest Redeads?
I think it's probably Ocarina of Time, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Because the ones in Wind Waker aren't scary.
No, they actually totally redesigned those guys.
Yeah.
They had like earrings and shit. I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a cool design, but it's not.
Heck yeah.
It doesn't.
It was very
have
like ancient Egyptian feeling.
Yeah. Yep.
And those ones, which I did love. But yeah, I think you're probably right. Okay, so Shadow Temple kind of feel around different games.
And then, and I have Majora's Mask listed here because it's, also has a darker vibe kind of throughout, but especially like at the end, like Iconic Canyon is
spooky. Yeah. That is spooky.
And then I want to shout out Tears of the Kingdom, which the gloom and the hands and when you're in the depths and that stuff's coming after you and like you can't get away.
Dude. Nuts. That was nutty. Going in the basement or the depths. I call it the basement. Going in the basement for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh man. I remember still the first time I ran into one of those hands. That was insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Both those games have a good way of surprising you. Like it was the Guardians in Breath of the Wild. Like the first time you encounter one and that laser starts and you're like, what is happening? What's that sound? Dude.
It's that little jingles, that music that starts playing. It gets your heart racing. You're like, oh, and like you're, especially at the beginning of the game, you're like, this is unavoidable. Like I am toast.
You don't stand a chance. No.
Which I mean, not to go down this hole either, but like, what a way to power scale, like how to show your development as a player.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like you're running, you're hiding in grass from Guardians to you're fighting them. Love that.
Yeah. Just straight on. Yep.
Man, I'm trying to think of some elements of some of the games. I think Zelda, like you said, I want to mention that too much because I think you nailed that one. But I mean, I feel like I tend to think about, I always tend to think about that music in a lot of different things, a lot of different games. And I think I would have to think about a lot of the 2D stuff. I don't know why Earthbound is so weird to me.
That's an interesting one. Okay.
I'm not sure.
A weird vibe. I don't know if it's spooky to me, but definitely it's odd.
It's like kind of, I think what I like about Earthbound and why it gives me that feel. And again, this is such a weird take. I could totally understand that. But like just the fact that you start the game and it's the middle of the night and your mom's like, yeah, okay, well, go ahead. You're like, all right.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go up and like, there's all these police and you can't figure out a fucking get around them and shit.
Right.
But I mean, like, there's a spooky element of that game where at first you have no idea what's going on, and it kind of feels like maybe like the opening of some kind of scary movie. Like that's what you kind of imagine.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
You know what I mean? So it's like, middle of the night, and then that night portion takes up quite a bit of time before you end up actually finishing that piece and then waking up the next morning. But to me, that like set a tone for Earthbound. So like I feel like through that game, it feels a little like weird, a little on edge, a little spooky. And I like that.
I get that. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as events go, like I already said, but Animal Crossing is awesome for that kind of stuff. I love that real time stuff. Fortnite, like you said, having those different events. But I mean, like, how cool would it be to go into Donkey Kong Bonanza and get a little special level?
See, I would love that kind of stuff. And I actually do have some of those these are all older games, but I like that there was a point in time where like games weren't afraid to just make what is basically a Halloween level, when you break it down. Like I have Mad Monster Mansion written down here from Banjo-Kazooie.
Man, good call
such
out.
A good level. It's, you get to explore the inside, the outside. There's so many different pieces to it. Pumpkin Hill and Sonic Adventure 2 is kind of the same thing.
There you go.
You're flying around as Knuckles and there's little ghosts popping out.
Oh man.
And then I think Mario kind of nails the spooky level vibe in a lot of ways. The ghost houses are that music. There's always and just the mystery of not knowing like where to go and what what's real and what isn't. Big Boo's Haunt is always going to be one that resonates with me from Mario 64. Yeah, I like that games used to, I feel like, and maybe it's just because platformers are kind of dead, but they used to do kind of spookier levels like that. And you're right, Bonanza doesn't have there's one that's kind of, again, kind of odd, a little creepy, but it's not in the way we're talking about.
No, I think what you said about Mario is perfect, though. I cannot even believe that I wouldn't think about something like that. But the ghost houses, you're right. I think that it's going to sound like I'm really drilling into something that's pointless to drill into. But like to go from, like you said, a Mario game that's very much upbeat, outside, very, very spry, to then go into an inside portion where the music is very weird. You got like the beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop,
Yeah.
and it's like, and you're like, what the fuck? Like to change that kind of tone, like that's very cool. That's very dynamic. And like, I can always appreciate a good little spooky level tucked away,
Yeah.
But like, you know what too? Like obviously, they did a really good job with that on Mario Kart World too, with that whole Boo area.
Yeah, I was going to bring up, there was one level in Mario Kart 64 that I am not nearly as familiar with as the rest, and that is, I think it's called Banshee Boardwalk. I should have looked up what it's actually called. But as a kid, I hated that level. It was scary. The bats flying at you, and you could fall off of it, and
this one was weird. I mean, like it was very dark, and I remember. Was it if you got too close to the sides or something, the bats would hit you, or was it like a certain part? I can't remember.
I think they'd swoop in and they could like push you. Yeah, so I think they could like push you right off of there, and I would avoid playing that level as much as I could. I didn't care for it.
You briefly touched on Big Boo's Haunt. That level in Mario 64 was legitimately unnerving. I did not like doing those missions. I did not.
It's definitely one of the most interesting levels in the game. The first time you find that basement area, with like the little spinner thing and the music, like you land down there and you can kind of hear it, and it's at a distance. And then you walk in that door and you're like, what are they doing in here?
Dude,
it's like a weird little carnival, like.
Legitimately, I dreaded doing those. I did not like it. As soon as I went to that fucking music box, I was like, get me out of here, man. I don't want to be in
even
here.
just the way you get into the level is different, and that's interesting on its own. What was I just gonna say? Oh, the eyeballs.
The eyeballs,
a couple other levels too, but those are ugh.
Everything about being in there, but the music, they did a really good job with the music being just super odd. And it's cool though. I mean, like obviously the mansion thing wasn't, created there, right? We had the mansions in the, like we were just saying, in the Super Nintendo games, and the houses or whatever. But I mean, it is interesting to have seen the mansion in the 3D space and then later get Luigi's mansion. Like that is fun. I like that little connection. But the music box, why was it a music box?
I don't know.
Like where did that come from?
You have to hit the ghost.
Yeah, you punch it out of the ghost, and then you gotta like just know or figure out that you gotta jump into this thing. Well,
and remember, you go into the basement, and then when you come up, you see the ghost there.
You're right.
You like chase it, and you're like, "What's going on?" And you go out there, and so even that's like weird because you're like, "What's going on here?"
I hated that shit. I had one that I was doing a little bit of a Google or was it last night? It doesn't matter. But wasn't there some Halloween stuff in Treasure Tracker?
That's a good question. I feel like there was, right?
Like ghost house levels or something in Treasure Tracker. I saw some cool looking screenshots.
Ghost levels in there. Yeah, Ghost Gallery Gambit. I remember being very frustrated playing through that. Because, it kind of goes back to what we said right at the top. Like, Toad is so limited in that game. You can't jump. You don't move very fast. There's not a whole lot you can do. And so stuff's happening, like the floor, is coming up and there's ghosts, and it's just, for a game that otherwise is not super tense, that was pretty rough.
Pretty rough. Oh man, I feel like truthfully, we've hit a lot of the things. I cannot. Again, I think the only thing we've mentioned I can't believe I didn't think about were those ghost houses, man, and Big Boo's Haunt. Those are such good call outs.
It's just
And
you wouldn't think of it, but yeah, I think Mario does spooky better than almost any franchise.
And Banjo-Kazooie too. You know what Banjo-Kazooie did that I really like? And I want to be specific when I say it too, because I talk about music a whole lot. It's become very apparent to me in the weeks we've done this that I did not realize how important music is to me in games. But but Banjo-Kazooie more than others. Like even like we talked about Big Boo's Haunt. Music's creepy, but it's more of an ambiance thing, right?
Yeah.
The music's just more ambient. But in Banjo-Kazooie, it's very like, I don't know what word to use, but like floppy, like that music's very like wah wah wah, like very just gunky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very wide. And especially when you mix it with the weather. I'm trying to remember where I'm thinking of when it's raining. But I remember there being several levels inside Grunty's castle that are like very kind of just weird, almost somber, sad, and it's raining and the music's very off. And that, because Banjo-Kazooie did music so well above most other games, easy, so like the way that they captured the feeling too, just that like gunky goopy kind of just, which are perfect Banjo-Kazooie words also, by the way. But the way that they captured the feeling of an area with that weird music and then that rain or like whatever it was just so kind of like sometimes sad, like, and it would get you and how spooky it was. So I mean, like Banjo-Kazooie is such a it's such a win when it comes to this kind of thing. It really nails that feeling.
I think I've talked about it on here before, the rejiggied album that Grant Kirkhope put out.
I need to Google
all of the
right
level
now.
tracks, and it's on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff. But it's all the different level tracks from that first Banjo-Kazooie game. I don't believe he's done one for 2E, but that would be cool.
I would love that.
But like, and it's one of those things where anytime I see someone either on YouTube or Spotify, if they cover video game music, one of the first things I want to look for is if they cover any tracks from Banjo-Kazooie, because they translate so well to metal and whatever style you're looking for.
Dude, there's a vinyl for this.
Yes, there is. Yeah,
I want it. I want it bad.
Yeah, it's a great listen. I recommend it.
Oh my god,
anybody out there for sure.
I will be downloading this right now.
But I had a couple things here, and there's one I definitely want to close on because it's, I would say, the game that has probably scared me the most over the years. It's a game I've played a lot of. And that game is Minecraft.
Oh.
Because Minecraft it's built to scare you, right? Like anytime you think.
How do you mean?
Because like you start off and you're just in the wilderness. You have nothing. You got to figure out how to survive, right? Because I'm playing survival Minecraft. I'm not playing creative. I'm not doing any of that.
100%.
So, yeah. So I'm out there. I'm punching trees. I'm doing all that stuff. I'm building a little dirt house to get through the night.
You're getting it.
Yeah. But then, I might be doing my thing. I'm mining something, doing whatever. Turn around, boom, creeper. Blows up. Dead. All right. But even worse than that is if you're in like a cave system and all of a sudden you just get shot by like an arrow and then you fall off a cliff and whatever. Like, there's so many things that can happen in Minecraft that just like, you mine a block and then suddenly there's lava underneath you and you fall in it. Like, there are so many of those moments that you think you've got it and then you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, especially when you go to the Nether. Like,
oh my god, yeah.
All the weird freaky shit you run into down there.
Zombie pigmen.
Oh man, yeah. All what are the ones that you can't look in the eyes and then something happens?
The Enderman.
The Enderman. Yeah. Fuck those guys. Yeah. For sure.
The first time I went in the Nether and I ran into a ghast,
Yeah, the big ones
flying around, and
oh yeah,
they make that horrible noise and they shoot fireballs at you, and you have no idea what's going on.
Like
and if
Ghibli
they hit your
creatures.
portal, it goes out. So if you don't have a way to like that again, you're done.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, no. Yeah. I remember. I have dabbled in creative because I like to.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Do things that you definitely can't do in survival, and I've built many a house in the Nether for fun, and because obviously, for the most part, you're not really going to get away with building a very full-fledged house down there. So I did because I was like, I want this. But, then when I transition back into the old into the old survival, I'm now in my house and I just hear like just
yeah,
I'm like, oh my
definitely.
God.
Yeah. Minecraft is, I haven't, it's one of those things that I check into every year and a half or so and play for a bit. But
fun.
It is. And it's that spontaneity. It's that you never really know what you're going to run into or what's going to run into you.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we've given some good recommendations for games to play over the next couple weeks leading up to Halloween. I would love to get some recommendations from anyone watching or listening in the comments. If you've got a spooky, scary, maybe even a game just that has candy in it, let us know. We would love that. You can communicate with us on, I don't know, on social media at Pod with Power. You can listen to the show, on your podcast service of choice. The video version is on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Zachary Davis. That's Jordan Carlson. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.